let's dive into tonight's show. So if this is your first time, welcome to the evening update for home service businesses. My name is Alexa. I'm the head of online community here at Housecall Pro and your host for the coronavirus evening update for home service businesses. I'm joined by my co-host, Roland, co-founder of Housecall Pro, and Mel, our senior vice president of people. You can think of them as your in-house business and HR strategy experts / sounding boards. So every evening at 5 p.m. Pacific time, Monday through Friday, we share the state of the world according to home service businesses and focus on one main topic or guest. So if you are wondering where to watch our past episodes, make sure you go to our YouTube channel. It's just Housecall Pro. There's a whole playlist of these coronavirus evening updates. We've been doing them now for 4 weeks. If you're not already, make sure you're joining the official coronavirus discussion for home services Facebook group. We'll post the link here in the chat or on Facebook as well. And if you're looking for any of the resources that we've made, whether it's on the CARES Act, any of the programs within that, all the way up to marketing and business strategies, those are going to be at housecallpro.com/coronavirus. There's a huge resource section for you. Make sure you're subscribed and you're part of that Facebook group because there's tons, and I mean tons of incredible information and people in there. We're up to 2,500 members in just 4-ish short weeks.
Oh yeah, that was so quick.
Crazy to us. So that being said, I'm going to pass it off to Mel. We'll be back on in a little bit. So I'm going to pass it to Mel for your evening update.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Lots of familiar names and companies, and lots of new ones as well. I'm Melina Fairley, Senior Vice President of People at Housecall Pro, and please feel free to call me Mel. I'm not a reporter or a scientist or a doctor. I think I'm making sure to tell you guys that every night. Nothing has changed. I am a business leader and a human resources professional with over 20 years of experience. On the personal side, I'm a U.S. Marine Corps wife. I'm a homeowner. I'm a mom of 4 growing and hungry kids in middle and high school. And we come to you live every weeknight from our homes, or more specifically, I come to you every weeknight from my dining room table to give you a daily recap of what's going on in the world, and to bring you guests like we have tonight, and advice and a sense of community to help your business during these changing times. There's certainly a lot going on. So with that said, here's your update for Thursday, April 9th, 2020. The Johns Hopkins dashboard is reporting over 1.5 million cases worldwide. You can see Roland bringing that up now, and over 95,000 deaths. We're also starting to see that column on the right, the green, get larger every day, over 350,000 total recovered. Here in the US, they're reporting over 460,000 cases, over 16,000 deaths, and we're at just over 25,000 recovered at this point. The disease killed nearly 2,000 people in the US yesterday, which is the second record high in a row.
Yeah, and New York now looks like in a state by itself actually has more cases than any other country besides obviously the US, because it's a part of the US, but more cases in New York than any other country, which is a pretty crazy statistic. Obviously, you guys were, you said 151,000 roughly or so, and yeah, about 7,000, right?
Yeah, and more than 7,000 people have died in New York State so far. So certainly our most heavily impacted. And as you mentioned, more cases in New York than any other country besides the US. So just to put it in proportion, it's definitely staggering.
Yeah, they're doing some testing too. And I think that they're starting to conclude that the coronavirus in New York actually came from Europe and not from China.
Interesting. But they're able to track that down. Certainly,
yeah.
A lot of people working on the problem, that's for sure.
A lot of science.
Yeah, and the U.S. is indeed enduring what Dr. Anthony Fauci called a very bad week. He also said that social distancing and shelter-in-place orders are working. So we heard this yesterday. They're actually reducing earlier projections of the death toll from the respiratory virus. So previously we heard numbers like 100,000 US deaths, 200,000 US deaths. Fauci commented that the final toll currently looks more like 60,000 than the 100 to 200,000 that US officials previously estimated. It's certainly still an alarming number, but comforting to hear that the efforts that we're all putting in are making that number move in the right direction. And
yeah, so we still have a little ways to go then.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we're still in the early days of this as a nation.
Yep.
And not surprisingly, the nation has been impacted in many ways. One of those is air travel. I don't know anyone who's been on a plane recently, and apparently air travel in the US has dropped by about 96% amid the pandemic. So yesterday, Wednesday, the TSA screened just shy of 95,000 people at airports, dropped from 2.3 million on the equivalent day last year in 2019. These numbers are at a 10-year low, according to the TSA, and reportedly only about 1 in every 10 seats on a US domestic plane is occupied, and they have slashed the number of flights. So, that's really, 96%, quite a dramatic yet not unexpected drop.
So if you wanted to fly private, you're saying now's the time?
Probably not. I think I'd be saving my dollar. I think just
Save
stay home, Roland. Just stay home.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to get me to okay that for you.
Yeah. All right. Fine.
Globally, turning to the UK, we reported a few nights ago that Prime Minister Boris Johnson had entered intensive care. He is out of intensive care, his office announced today, so they've moved him back to the regular ward. He continues to receive treatment for coronavirus and is reported to be in extremely good spirits, so there's some good news there as well. Finally, back to the more challenging news, the downstream effects of social distancing continues to have substantial effects on the economy. I know everyone tuning in here tonight has felt this in some way. In the US, projections of the decline in US gross domestic product, or GDP, for the second quarter of this year range from drops of 30 to 38% estimated. So, quite a reduction in estimated gross domestic product. As we know, unemployment has been climbing. We've talked about that several nights here. So it's already estimated to be 12 to 13% unemployment in the US, with more than 17 million jobless claims filed in just the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's huge. And then obviously what's interesting to continue to keep an eye on is the stock market, and it continues to do well, even despite all this bad news. And a lot of people are just pointing to the fact that a lot of the markets is being traded on based upon how much better the outcome of the coronavirus is in terms of deaths, really more than anything else. And that even Fed's dumping in money or not dumping money, it don't seem to have as much of an effect on the stock market as just the, maybe getting to a possible new pseudo norm really is. So just keep your eye on the stock markets as well. It is kind of perplexing to see, but interesting nonetheless, and hopefully good for 401ks if we happen to have any left after the crash here. And then ultimately too, one company of note, I think they dropped 10% today, but the reason why they dropped 10% is because Yelp, this company is Yelp, they announced they're laying off 1,000 people and then another 1,100 people to furlough. So that one's huge. And if you actually wanted to read it, we'll post a link to it here, but it's actually an internal letter that Jeremy sent out to the CEO of Yelp, sent out to all of his people here. But the things here that are kind of salient or just interesting really to note that might be helpful for you guys just to kind of see is obviously it's a really good barometer for what people are looking for these days. And so he announced in their most popular categories, which actually is restaurants, their second most popular category is actually home services, but in restaurants, it's dropped 64%. Nightlife is down 81%. Gyms, and salons and other beauty businesses are down roughly about another 80%. So there's, huge amounts of drop in terms of volume. And then at the same time too, all these businesses aren't spending any ad dollars anymore on Yelp to take some of that traffic to funnel to their business because they can't. They're closed. They're non-operational. So you can really see what's happening here. And this kind of unemployment is definitely going to get, it's definitely going to get worse before it gets better. I think it was 6.6 million released. I think that was yesterday. So it's going to kind of continue probably through next week and the week after that before we see any kind of improvements.
Yeah, we'll be looking to those numbers next week. We were at 3.3 million in 1 week and then 6.6. I think they upgraded to 6.9. We're at 17 million in claims in the last 3 weeks. So yes, absolutely. We expect unemployment to get worse before it gets better, sadly.
All right.
So, I mean, as far as that Yelp announcement, I know our pros are so polar opposite on either end. Some people are like singing in the streets, and others are really sad for Yelp. That's definitely a topic of concern for some of our pros. So, thank you guys for our daily evening update. I'm actually going to promote John, who's our. Oh, I see two Johns. Look, hopefully, I choose the right one. All right, John.
We're going to have 2 John guests.
You two John Thompsons. I'm gonna promote both to panelists.
We'll see what happens here.
We'll see what happens.
It'll be a really fun interview. Both ways.
Yeah.
It's like a grab bag.
Let's see.
It might take a little bit. There we go.
I can hear
video. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So I want to welcome our special guest tonight, John Thompson. So John is an influencer. He's a licensed plumber, entrepreneur, and co-founder of Thompson Family Plumbing and Plumb God Media alongside his wife, Devin. John currently has over 23,000 followers on his OG Plumb God Instagram account, and I believe they have 2,400 on their business account. So you guys are in for a really good conversation between Roland and John tonight. They're going to be covering everything from downsizing costs, upsizing your customer engagement, and just ultimately how to prepare for the unknown with everything going on in the world right now. So Mel and I will be back at the end of this for your Q&A, but if you have any questions for us or John, make sure you put them in the Q&A if you're on Zoom, and if you're on Facebook, throw them in that live feed there. And I'm going to pass it off to these two gentlemen.
That's awesome. Hey, well, it's awesome. I literally got to meet John just like minutes before we jumped on here. But if you guys aren't following his Instagram account yet, it's hilarious. It's always fun. There's really, really cool content on there. We'll post a link to that right here in the chat. So if you guys aren't following him yet, it's just at OG Plumb God. Just take a look there because he's doing cool stories live, and it's a lot of fun to watch. So before we get off to this, maybe John, if you can kind of give like a quick introduction, who you are and who's your business, and then how did you get into this this Instagram world?
Yeah, well, so I've been plumbing for 14 years now, and I started my business, Thompson Family Plumbing. We're actually hitting the 7-year mark right now. Our business has, well, we had 21 employees, and we have 2 different locations, one in Hesperia, California, and one in Lake Havasu, Arizona. And so my wife is very hardworking. She runs our Hesperia shop now, which is the heart and the core of our business. And I'm actually in Arizona, and I just lost my employee today. He has to be let go because, all of this stuff happening, and I totally understand it, and I'm totally okay with it. So I'm OG Plumb God on Instagram. I been doing influencing for 7 or 8 years. I love doing Instagram stuff and have fun and teach guys what it's about and what it takes to actually be a plumber and be a business owner at the same time, because I always tell everybody, hey, this is not a job, it's a lifestyle. And I really hold that to my core, because it's not just an average job that anybody can just go do and clock in and clock out when they want, when it's scheduled. Like right now, before we had this started this webinar, like I said, we just got a service call, an emergency service call right now before this webinar. And I'm like, man, I got to do this thing. It's always when something is scheduled and it never ends, it hits you right when you don't want it, but I do want it at the same time.
It's so hard too, because like you just said, you're at your Havasu location right now, and right. One of your employees just asked, hey, you know what, I'm going to bow out. And in a time when you don't have someone to actually help you, it kind of falls on you. So tell us a little bit more. You said you had 21 employees, kind of, right. I'd assume probably sometime in February, and now you've done some downsizing. Walk us through how coronavirus has kind of affected your business, and obviously you have 2 locations as well, so you're handling more than normal here, having these remote sites.
It's been kind of a wild ride, because Arizona is on its own page than California, and it's got different times and levels of severities of what they think is a time to start shutting stuff down versus California. California on the shutdown was 3 weeks ahead of Arizona. I feel like Arizona here, it just got on lockdown like a half a week ago. And California, that was like 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. And it's been in California, it moved really fast, you know? And so we had to think very fast as a business on what are we going to do to prepare ourselves for the future and protect our employees at the same time. And that was the biggest thing for us. And the hardest part for us, we worked so hard to get all these employees that love being at our shop. And like, how are we going to tell them that we have to let them go right now for their own good? You know, and that's what we thought about from the get-go, is laying them off so that we know that they're going to get some kind of paycheck coming into their house. The sooner that we could do this, the better for them and their families. And that's kind of how Devin and I strategized about beginning to downsize, which we, like I said, we really didn't want to do. But fortunately enough for us, all of our employees that we talked to, they were super supportive. And they're like, John, Devin, we know you're going to do everything that you can to get us back up and running to full capacity again. And they have wholehearted faith in us that we're going to do it. And I have no doubts either. And that's one thing that we got to do as business owners is like, hey, get back in the saddle, man. Get back in the saddle. This ain't no time to mess around. And we got to do it for our employees, which in my employees, a lot of them, I feel like they're my family, and I have to do what I have to do to get them their job back, you know? It's been a wild ride. So the first set of phone calls, we let go of 11 people.
So now you're at 10 people total.
Yep. And so that was really, really hard. So we had 2 apprentices, 4 servicing technicians, and the rest were office staff. So the reason why we decided to do this was because for 2 days, we only had like 1 or 2 phone calls. Now my service company we literally book anywhere between 25 to 35 calls a day. That's a lot of volume. That's a lot of calls. And for us to get down to where we only book 2 calls in one day, that is really, really bad. But here's the thing. When you're running your business, you have to really always think about these things, these times. And being in a service industry, I feel like I'm lucky to have made this decision to be in service instead of new construction, because new construction, they have a whole different ball game they're dealing with. And I can't even begin to imagine what they're going to face, because I didn't face it on the last downfall, but I did hear a lot of stories. And that's about, I got in just about the same time that the last crash happened. And I just heard about all these new construction guys coming into service and repair and all that stuff. And I was thankful. I'm thankful right now that I did that, and I'm in service and repair, and I've stuck with it to the core, you know. But service agreements, that's what's going to keep you alive. Maintenance contracts, drain maintenance contracts, those are the things that are going to keep our businesses alive. And if you had been doing a good job on it, then you're going to still continue to have those calls and those customers that are going to be calling you. And there's a lot of other ways to get them to want to call you, right? I mean, there's many different things, but you know, if you are already doing membership programs and stuff like that, that is going to help us a lot right now. I truly believe.
Yeah, definitely. Because you're building that reoccurring revenue into your business. So you're more like a Netflix, less like a Blockbuster, where if someone doesn't come in to rent any movies, okay, fine. You know, you Netflix, you're always paying no matter if you rent 1 or 20 or 100. But you get that coming through. Yeah.
And I also believe that by being a family brand business, that we have the lead over the big commercial brands. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely.
People want to support small business, and people want to know that they're supporting the community too at the same time. So by all of us small business owners, we are lucky to be in the position we're at right now, because we're probably getting more volume than the Roto-Rooter and all those things. As long as you want it, you know, you got to be willing to get out there if you want to work, you know, but some people, they don't want to get out there and put themselves in that risk. And I totally understand that as well. So when my employees come to me and they're like, hey, I don't feel comfortable, you just got to say, I respect you, and I'm going to do what I can to get you your job back. And I hope that this all ends as soon as possible, and we are rocking and rolling again.
Yeah, I think what you said is really important for everyone that's listening here to really take in, which is, you're doing the best job possible and you're doing right by them. And what's right by them, especially, I know a lot of you guys pay your technicians or your service call people on job tickets as a percentage basis. If they don't have those coming in, they're not going to earn the money they're going to want to earn. And so sometimes, being able to let them go and earn that unemployment, where you've got a great federal unemployment coming in, you've got your state, which California is also pretty good. That can often be a bigger paycheck during these times than them running zero service calls and not sitting there. So, that's important. You evaluate those things, and it's great that, your employees also understood. And I think you've done a great job building the culture and instilled the trust that they have, in you as a person and then your company to get them through to then earn back, the ability to hire them and
before these things happen. Right.
Yeah. They'll come back, it sounds like. So you talked about some strategies just around the memberships, service agreements. That is makes the most sense. Obviously with plumbing too, because that's the kind of the trade that you're in. Some things you can do outside without entering the home. Some things you need to go inside. So I've talked to a lot of plumbers, and some of them, what they're doing is they're like, hey, you know what, we're going to do outside stuff, but not inside, because it's better to get 50% of a ticket than to get 100% of a ticket that you'd normally get. And that's one of the strategies they're also using to keep the trucks rolling and on the road and doing those types of things. Are there any other strategies that you're thinking about and that you're doing right now that would be helpful for our audience to kind of take notice of?
So one amazing thing that my wife, we had actually already launched this on our website probably about 6 months ago. We're trying to do visual walkthroughs with customers and giving estimates through Zoom, and so doing a video chat with them is awesome. I mean, it saves them time, it saves us time. We actually do charge a fee to do these walkthroughs with customers and walk them through how they can do things without us going on site.
It's a great idea.
But I feel like it's an amazing idea too. And that's where a lot of service is going to be going. This is going to change the way we communicate with our customers forever. And we have to really be integrative, and we have to be focused on the change and willing to change with the times, because it's not going to revert back to what it was. And if you start doing video stuff right now, I think it's going to give you the edge on your competition. It's going to give you something different, obviously, than what your competitors are doing. But I don't know. I just really loved the idea. But you know what? I'll be honest with you. We've done blast emails with it. We've done all kinds of stuff, and we still don't get any calls with it. So it's kind of bizarre to me that it's a really great idea right now. If I was a consumer and I needed somebody to come to my house, I would video chat them right now. I don't want them at my house until I know I'm doing business with you.
Yep. And that's a good thing. Like the golden nugget that you just dropped there almost unknowingly was that there's things that you're going to be doing now that are going to last far beyond when this thing is over. So whether it's this virtual estimate or virtual service calls idea, there's going to be all these other ideas and things that you're going to start to try and that you should experiment with that are going to be the norm for here going forward. What you just said too, which is like, hey, you want to know who you're doing business with before they even step foot in the door. I think I truly believe that's going to become part of the norm. And what's been interesting is Zoom has always been, a B2B, a business to business, or inside of a business tool. But now consumers are using it, your children's classrooms are using it. Everybody's starting to use it. And now, I almost feel like any stock is a good stock to buy when it becomes a verb. And now people are like, hey, let's jump on a Zoom. Let's Zoom. It's a verb now. It's Zoom. And which is crazy. And I bet you if this is something that you have thought ever about offering it, just put it out there. Because over time, it's just going to start to come, and the customer is going to look at your webpage. So make sure it's on there, that you say it, put on your branding, put on your ads. Because what you said is true. At some point, they're going to come and be like, ooh, these people I can do a Zoom with. These ones they have to come to my house, and I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. I don't even know if they've got the proper precautions, et cetera. But that's a really, really good point you bring up.
So we do the whole, my wife's like amazing dispatcher. She's like the best dispatcher I've ever had, and like even listened to on the phone. She's like blows my mind. I'm like, how can nobody's that good, right? I mean, but she is so amazingly good at it, but she's worked it into her pitch. If she's feeling resistance and stuff like that, then she said she will refer them to our website to where they can video chat. And we also do charge a service fee right now to come out. I typically do not charge a service fee whatsoever to come out. We do free on-site estimates, and I'm totally good with that. I love doing those. And but right now we are charging a service fee. And you know what? If those customers can't understand why you're charging a service fee now and you weren't, then they're not, you don't want them as a customer because they don't respect you and your health and safety of your family or theirs, their own.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's always good too, to be honest and upfront with your pricing. And when they buy into it, it's like going into a restaurant. When you go to the restaurant, you see the menu and the price of the steak, you know, is $49. You're not going to go ask the server, hey, you know what? I see the steak is $49, but I can actually go to Arby's down the street and get it for $8. Would you sell it to me for $8? No, it's either they buy it for that or they don't.
Right.
That way you get those high value clients. And yeah, you might lose some of those here and there, but those aren't, like what you said, those are the clients you might not even want to deal with anyways, because they're just shopping around for multiple quotes. And right now you have to protect your time, especially because you don't have the employees.
We have to, well, not just that, but that is a great point. But we want to limit exposure for everybody. We want to limit exposure for the next customer that we have. We want to limit exposure for the technician that we have out at the house. My wife's looking at me in the window. She's
like, what is he doing now? He's out by the pool on Zoom.
Yeah. So I saw in here somebody said I am a handyman service. And I don't understand how I get service agreements or whatever as a handyman service. Well, there's plenty of ways. You got to really open up your mind and, you know, change air filters, just do walkthrough inspections. You can just check electrical sockets to make sure that those are all
test
working.
GFCIs, test pressure.
A lot of little basic stuff. And you know what? I'm actually gonna change my service agreement because it's not working the way I want. And I charge for my service agreement, you know, and it's an annual fee. What I'm going to do is a one-time fee from now on. I'm just going to be like, you know what? You want to be a part of the family because that's what we have. It's the family.
That's
plan.
Good marketing. Yep.
And because we're Thompson Family Plumbing, so we have the family plan, and we're going to change it to a one-time fee, and you get these benefits for the rest of the time you own this house.
That's cool. That's interesting. I almost feel like having a couple different options too for people that some people want to pay monthly. Hey, you know what? When it's $9 a month, no problem. Or for the lifetime of your home, it's $1,500 and we got you covered for as long as you live there. And guess what, guys? Most people don't live at their homes for 20, 30, 40 years. You know, every 7 years they'll swap homes. So think about that when you throw in the pricing, and it helps you sell those two packages. And depending on the person, they might pick one or the other. You
can get a lifetime warranty on a water heater. And guess how many of those you're going to have to replace in 20 years? Like, I mean, not very many, probably.
Yep. No, that's another good tip too for when you guys are out there.
I don't know. There's all kinds of things that you can do to, retain clientele.
For sure. So let's talk a little bit about Instagram. Obviously, social media right now is as powerful as it ever was. Everyone's spending massive amounts of time on there. We're seeing huge increases on ours. I'm sure you're seeing big increases on yours. What are some things that you're translating from kind of your personal brand over to your business Instagram brand? And you've done a really good job at getting the engagement. What are some tips here that you'd share for all these pros right now that might have a little extra time on their hands that maybe haven't even set up Instagram before or set up a Facebook page? Like what would you say are just the basics that you have to do and some quick tips for them?
So for one, if you're trying to expand your page and all that stuff, what you really need to do is link everything together. All your Google stuff, all your Facebook stuff, all your Instagram stuff, everything needs to be to where you launch it at one time, it's there. Hashtags do help a lot. So if you're, I'm Hesperia, California, hashtag Hesperia plumbing services. You need to brand these cities, and that will actually help you gain ranking in all these places that you don't even know about yet online. And it will help you. Not just that is that, when people say, drains near me or whatever, then those, you hashtag those cities, you're going to pop up in those areas. And so that's one little thing. But another thing is you got to make it happy. You got to be pleasant to be around and want to watch, right? You have to be professional. So I have two different styles, man. I mean, I really do. I have my OG Plumb God style where it's more for servicing technicians, people that like tools. And I actually use that more as a recruiting tool for myself. So I have my own personal page where I use it as a recruiting tool. And believe me, I get employees from my Instagram. And I love it. I love it that it's become that. And I didn't know that it was going to be that at first. But then I'm like, you know what? This is a recruiting tool. Absolutely. Yeah. So, but then I have my professional Thompson Family Plumbing brand. And you know what? I'll be honest. I let my wife do a lot of that posting, but I do pop in and out of there, and I do happy videos. I make sure my energy is very high, because people, that's what brings engagement. You need smiles, you need high energy so that people want to be a part of that energy. You know,
yeah, people want to see if you're excited about your trade, if you love it. Like, I want to have a plumber working at my house that loves to plumb, and also takes real good, I'd say a high amount of craftsmanship and an eye of detail. Like, explain to me why you care, why things are lined up this way. Why do you do this with PEX? Like, why are you picking this over this tool? You know, someone that's really engaged and thinking about the decisions they're making, I'm going to feel really comfortable about bringing them into my home, because, man, they think about plumbing 24/7. That's who I want. I don't want someone that is from Roto-Rooter, got trained up and just looking to make $70 an hour, you know, that just does the standard list of things. I want someone that's actively out there. So that's a really good tip in terms of, you know, passion, like that bleeds through.
That is number one, passion.
I feel like that always wins. And then the other great golden nugget that you just dropped here is the recruiting aspect. So people want to work for companies that they see out there that care, you know, that are energetic, that do have that passion. Like, nothing's more boring than working for a standard big franchise company. I understand that maybe that's where you start to kind of learn the tools, and then you go off to yourself. But like, ultimately, people will want to work for the company that shows that they care, that they're engaged with the community. You know, people always ask, well, Roland, is it a good idea to sponsor local events like local baseball leagues and these things? I say any single time you can engage with your community is so great, because, you know, that it might be hard to measure, but that word of mouth is so critical to building your business. And like you also mentioned, those tags that you do, those hashtags, always include your location, because over time, remember, Google might not be able, and Facebook for that matter, which is Instagram, they might not be able to actually read into the video what you're actually saying and sharing too much. Obviously, machine learning happens from things that are structured data. Provide that structure, not just for humans, but also for the robots, because those things are going to match together. And guess what? Someone's gonna go on Instagram and search plumbing and Hesperia or whatever it is in those combination of words, and you want to get surfaced for that. So I feel like you dropped a bunch of really good nuggets here for our audience today.
Well, yeah, you know, somebody mentioned to me about my website. I actually use Scorpion, and they built that website. It's a smart website, but I'm actually in the midst of rebranding that entire site right now with them. So as a business owner right now, you got to get your brain back in it and try and freshen up what you're doing, and change to try and meet some kind of expectation that you possibly could have missed with another customer. And it's very hard to say what you missed, right? I mean, is it really though? You know, it's all about engagement and communicating with your customer even tighter and tighter, and finding the new way to do that, you know, and right now, video conferencing, online booking, make sure that online booking is right on your first page so that they can book it themselves if they want. I think that's really a good thing. Make sure you have a chat on your website. You know, some people don't want to waste their time with a phone call. They want to chat. So make sure you have that link on there. There's free chat links out there. You don't have to pay a company to do it. There's all kinds of cool stuff for free that you can get online that work.
Yep. And you can obviously, saving costs, you know, is something that's on everyone's mind these days. Obviously, you know, you're trying to get the most ROI, the bang of the buck that you've got, you know, for the money that's coming in. So as it comes to that, there are a bunch of free options for a lot of these tools, and also a lot of vendors out there, software vendors right now, they're looking to get new customers, and they've got all kinds of deals and free trials and things that can be expanded. So I feel like those are things you should definitely be looking for now that you have a little bit of time. Take a step back and kind of reevaluate, similar to what you guys are doing, a fresh lift. You know, now's the time to build and keep stepping forward, not just being paralyzed.
I wanted to, sorry, Roland, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I really wanted to cut in to tell you that what's really worked for us to stay keeping that revenue fresh is, maybe a lot of people may not like this, but my company, we have a PRS, we have a salesperson. And let me tell you what, right now, that's what's keeping my guys working. That is what's keeping them working, is these bigger projects are coming in and we're selling these big projects. And that's the only thing that's working right now for us.
Mm-hmm. So maybe expand on that, like for the people that don't know PRS, what is that? How does that work? How do you get them?
So I have an ultimate sales guy, man. He's the jam. And my guys go out and set him up to come out and actually pitch the big sale.
Yep.
You know, they're
doing like an HVAC, and this is maybe like a turnover. So you go in there to do a repair of something and say, hey, you know what, John, I can do this Band-Aid fix for you, but really I've got an expert that just, you know what, you might just want to go tankless, because otherwise, this $200 fix is only going to save you for a year. Now, yep. I recommend, let me bring someone else in. They're going to know all the things. So that's kind of what you're doing.
Absolutely. And like I said, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I have so many guys still working right now. And I mean, I have 3 repipes right now that's going on. Like, dude, awesome.
Yeah.
Can't beat that.
No, that keeps them moving for sure. So,
that and Green Sky. So our sales guy really utilizes Green Sky. And right now they have a really awesome plan. So check out Green Sky if you don't already have them.
Yep. They have like a 000 deal right now.
So ridiculous.
It's really quite good. The only thing there you got to be a little careful with is if customers miss payments, it's going to explode on them on the back end. Right. So just, remember, you have to always protect your long-term brand, not just the short term. So if you're going to use these tools to get them to close, to get them to do it, just make sure you're really crystal clear on like, hey, make sure you don't miss a single payment, because Green Sky makes their money on the people that missed that one payment. So it's a great tool for those that are on time with their payments. So just make sure you educate your customer and almost go like, hey, you know what? Green Sky's doing this kind of crazy deal. I'm going to get you on it, but here's how you beat it. Make sure you do all these payments on time, because ultimately, if they do that, it's a screaming deal. They make a ton of money on the ones that don't. So come across as the good guy, because this is your long-term brand. And they're going to be like, oh yeah, John told me, he got me financed and he told me the secret, just pay it on time. And it's not a mind-blowing experience, but it makes a huge difference, because that's how those companies work when they do the financing. So
I wanted, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about this social media thing one more time. And somebody said, would you, what tool, you know what, I'll tell you that on my business end, my wife runs all of the social media pages for my Thompson Family Plumbing. So she posts, and I forget what she uses, but there's tons of like easy software. Facebook,
Buffer, Hootsuite.
Yeah.
Some of them come with it built in already.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure that you understand that. So I have my personal brand, OG Plumb God, and then I have my business page. And it's got to be completely different content. You can't post tools and stuff on your business page, Check out this new tool I got. Like, and then you got customers that are like, oh, that's what my money paid for. You don't need that, keep your business page for your employees and for your customers. And then your personal page, if you're going to try and build a personal page for recruiting, then you can do whatever you want on that page, but try and keep it PG-13,
Yeah, and also you're going to attract what you put out. So if you want the types of, techs that like it, because there's all kinds of crazy plumber groups on Facebook that get all gnarly, and if that's that's the type of service techs you want that's attracted by that content, you're going to kind of attract what you put out. So depending on what you put out there, just realize that that's the personal brand that you're putting out there too, and that's what you're going to attract.
Right. Roland, what kind of time do we have?
We got about a couple minutes here. I think the best thing here, I feel like I've asked most of the important questions, but I feel like we could do this for hours. I think there's some stuff here in the Q&A that we should probably chat about a little bit. In Orange County, there are a lot of cities smashed together. So which one do I hashtag? It looks weird if I listed 10 or 20 city hashtags. Yeah, Don't do 10 or don't do that. Well, but how do you think about it?
I say do them. Don't do more than, I think it's 17. Don't do more than 17.
Yeah, there's a max, and then it will even tell you there's a max.
So the more words you write in your post, the better, and just more descriptive that you are. And then put your hashtags on the bottom so it's kind of hidden, so people don't see your hashtags. And like, you just post a picture and then everything is hashtagged. Don't do that. Post a picture with couple paragraphs. The more content you physically put in there, the better ranking you'll get with that post.
Yep. Yeah. And for people that don't know, like enter doesn't always work. So use like the periods and the periods, enter, period, enter. And that's how you can get some spacing between that and the hashtags. That way it's not all up in someone's, when they're scrolling, they're not just seeing that list of hashtags. And that's when they start to tune out.
Yeah. And utilize the heck out of Facebook boosts right now. Facebook is linked with Instagram, so you can boost it both at the same time. If you have a really good commercial right now, a really fun and engaging commercial, I would blast it on YouTube. People are watching YouTube nonstop right now.
Yep.
So another question for you, John. You do a lot of Instagram lives and Instagram videos. What are like the 3 things for our pros to think about when they are going live or recording a video for their customers?
That's a good question.
Going live is probably the least attractive thing to do. And I'll say that only because you don't get very good engagement. It's really hard. I mean, it's really hard to get engagement on lives. And this is a really good live feed. I'm stoked right now that you guys have over 100 people on right now. It's super rad. And thank you everybody for watching, because there's a lot to learn on this page. And I think Housecall Pro is just doing an amazing job by creating culture within their software and their business ethics. And I think it's something that you don't get a lot of other places. So, and that's the truth. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Lives take a lot of time.
No, we don't need any answers to that question. Let's just keep talking. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Okay. So no on the lives, but how about recording a video?
Okay. So recording a video, I would focus on a product that you guys want to push and have a fun, uplifting demo maybe with it, or explanation of why they would want it, and zero in on a specific topic. So I actually did one on Flow by Moen, and I made it engaging directly to the real estate market and people that are renting their houses and the Airbnb their houses. So try and find something that you want to zero in on and focus on that. And then that's also how you can judge your boosting, how you want to boost it on Facebook or Instagram and stuff like that. That'll help guide you as when you narrow it down to what kind of customer am I trying to attract with this post?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would just add on there, think about a couple different topics or themes that you can do. So maybe you pick one day a week where you focus on a cool product that you're excited about. And maybe, another thing, maybe you talk about a new service that you're offering, right, and that you really like. And so that way they can come to expect something on a more regular basis. The hardest thing is just doing something and sticking to it. It's really easy to do one video and be like, one didn't work, I give up.
I would say though, don't post too much on your business page, because that gets annoying too. So just make sure that when you're posting something, it's worthwhile or it's highlighting something important. I honestly would probably stay on your business page once a week, and let's say one hardcore post a week. And then if you can do a couple story feeds on maybe a service call that you guys just ran or something like that, that might be a good idea. I do that every once in a while. I'll jump on and I'll do a feed on that, and people really like that engagement. Like, hey, this customer had a leaking faucet, and you know what? It was so easy to fix it. And I just want to show you real quick how I did it. And this could be a cool thing that you can do for yourself without calling us out, and save yourself some money.
Yeah. When pros ask me like, Roland, I don't even know what to put on my lives or even put in my stories. It's like, just go, what did you just install? Just do the behind the scenes. Be like, hey, this is just what I installed and why did you do it? Like, just keep it super simple. It doesn't have to be anything earth shattering. People just like to see these things behind the scenes. Also think about time lapses. I know you've done some time lapses, which are always really fun to watch. But like setting those up is really easy. Just set your phone up, put a tool behind it, and just let it record as you're doing something. People love watching those. If something's really dirty and then in the process you put in something new or clean, those before and afters, super engaging. People love to see that kind of stuff. So those are some money shots you should think about.
Good point right there.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see here. This one is a question about the PPP. John, have you applied, or are you taking advantage of the PPP loans?
I am not. and I'll say the reason why I'm not is because, I mean, my books are pretty freaking on point. I have the most conservative CPA there ever it will be, and I'm like, hey, I don't want to write anything off. Like, I don't care. Like, I want to pay. I want to pay, because I don't want to create any like reason for them to like really dial into my stuff. Like, and that's what I don't want. I just don't want to create. I don't want to borrow any money and then be like, now they have all the rights to look into all my stuff and, you know, really dive into it. And because I don't have the time for that. Not that I'm doing anything dirty or anything like that. I'm not. But I just don't want any headaches in the future if there possibly was any questioning of what I did with the money, you know, any of that stuff. But that's just me personally. And I don't want to be rude, but I mean, right now, I feel if you need that money, you better reevaluate how you've been operating, because that means that you haven't been setting yourself up the proper ways. And that's a whole nother discussion. And you really got to think about your spending, especially right now. If you have an inventory system, and this is kind of what I wanted to get into, this is why I was asking if we had more time. If you have an inventory system, utilize that inventory right now. You have it in the shop. Don't be reordering stuff that you don't need. Make sure you're being very smart on that truck replenishment. If you have 3 trucks sitting in that shop, take the parts off that truck and re-inventory it when we're ready to put that truck back on the road. Utilize the parts that you've already purchased. I think that's a very useful thing that you can utilize right now. I mean, I have my whole warehouse is full of parts, and I'm thankful that I have them right now and I invested into it, and I'm going to use the heck out of that as much as I possibly can without spending money in my bank account.
Yeah, because it's cash that's sitting there on your shelves, guys.
Absolutely.
So if it's sitting there, just reallocate it. So what are you using, John, to keep track of all the inventory right now? Like, what's your method of the madness?
I use One Key by Milwaukee.
One Key by Milwaukee.
Yep.
And is that something that comes with you just using their produces? Is this something kind of?
So it's a free app. It's a free app. It's phenomenal. If you guys have not checked it out, you really need to check it out. So One Key will let you inventory any piece of equipment. It doesn't have to be Milwaukee. You can input any piece of equipment. This is like the coolest thing ever, okay? You can also, they sell ticks, and they're transmittable ticks that are tracking devices up to 100 foot of any device that has downloaded the app and accepted the cookies and the locating and all that stuff. So all of our tablets have it. All of my technicians' cell phones have it. So every major piece of equipment that I have, I tick it. And I know exactly where that piece of equipment is and who has that piece of equipment, because I also log it in and out of each vehicle and each technician. So
that's really cool.
It's a great tracking tool. I've had major problems, and I've gone through, I am not even kidding you, probably 7 different inventory softwares that I put just months into that didn't do shit for me. Excuse my language. But Milwaukee One Key app has been the best thing that I put my time and my money into. I even put my wife actually spent a lot of time putting in our inventory that's in our shop in there. So we know, hey, a guy asked like, hey, I need a 2-inch PVC tee. Who has one? And I'm like, well, I got one in the shop. I can do that. Or I know every single person in that truck should, or everyone that has a truck should have that fitting. So he must have used his. So we know we're gonna have to replenish too. But anyways, so One Key has been phenomenal for our shop in tracking and locating and doing all kinds of stuff. You can do geoforces. It's getting very intricate, and they just keep on adding more and more things to it. You can mark missing equipment. So let's say if you have a piece of equipment and that has a tick, or even some of the new Milwaukee tools, or a lot of them, already have
integrated.
They're already integrated in there. So you can lock the tool, or you can mark it missing, and then anybody that has downloaded that app, it will ping off of there if they're within 100 foot. So the more people that download the Milwaukee One Key app and accept all of the locating and the cookies and all that, the better for everybody that's involved in that app. So
yeah, so if some of you guys are wondering what the heck this is, if you're familiar, there's a consumer product out there called Tile. And tile is something
go.
that you can put, for example, in your, in your wallet, or you can put it on your keys, your luggage, and anybody that happens to have the tile app. So it doesn't have to be your employees. Anybody that's out there is actually going to be able to get that location, and it operates off of something called Bluetooth Low Energy. So these things last a very, very, very long time. And especially if you've got expensive tools, you got people running around with them. This is a really, really cool way to keep track of them and make sure they don't happen to get lost somewhere on a job. Not saying you all have those employees, but I've definitely heard those stories before. And it's not cheap. It's not. This has been really, really cool. I feel like there's one here that says, OG Plumb God, always sharing knowledge. Cedric, After Hour Plumbing. What's up, man? Are you utilizing phone sales or even customer follow-up for reviews?
Utilizing phones, sales, or even.
I think he's trying to figure out what are you doing to get more reviews right now?
I use broadly.
What's your process? Use broadly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So broadly. Yeah. And broadly is if you're a Housecall Pro user, we integrate with them. They're one of our partners in our app store. So definitely rate them as
that helps.
Multiple thumbs up.
Yep. I think you can do blast emails through them too. You can do all kinds of stuff. Honestly, I know the softwares that we use, but my wife is the one that like really works them really good. So yeah. So broadly, really, really good. Highly recommend it. So if you're using Housecall Pro, just go in the Housecall Pro app store and click, I want to use it. And they'll do a full demo for you. They'll set it all up and they'll all be connected and working together. So you don't have to do anything anymore. Yeah. So broadly would be my go-to on that. My wife's going to peek in here. She was just working out.
Is it Debbie Thompson, who we've heard so much about?
Okay.
Hi. We got to have her on next time too.
Yeah.
We should have her on our Lady Pros. We should do the Lady Pro live with her. That would be really cool.
Have you guys seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
Yes.
Okay, so we all know, right?
The man is the head.
But the woman is what?
Is the neck.
Right.
And the neck can turn the head any way she
I
wants.
was going to say the brain, but.
No, exactly. So the neck can turn the head wherever it needs to go.
I love it. Oh yeah, I gotta talk with Devin. That's how I feel. Well, I guess to leave us off before we share some more information about the virtual meetups going on this next week and the new podcast information. John, if you're to leave our pros with one lasting piece of advice or information, what would you leave them with?
Wow.
It was hard when you say one.
One.
It's like, I got many, but what's the one?
I know you have plenty of nuggets to share, but based off the topic from today, what's the biggest takeaway in your opinion?
And I'm going to stress this, if you feel like you need the loan, it's because you haven't structured your business correctly to begin with. And I feel, and I don't want to sound like an asshole for saying that, because I feel like it's kind of an asshole thing to say, but I'm just trying to be realistic. If this is something that you need to survive, your business to survive on, then you really got to think about how you're doing things for your future. And because we're here to create stability for ourselves. And that's the reason why we're doing it. Like, what else are you doing it for? So if you have to borrow money to stay alive, you haven't done that so far. So start game planning strategies in order for you to succeed in the future.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. I feel like everyone should start thinking about how do you save up 3 to 6 months worth of OpEx. So whatever size you get, invest in. So if you're going to hire those extra people on, whatever you do, put the money aside. So that way you get at least 3 months worth of whatever it is you pay them or whatever it is you're buying on the side. If you're buying trucks on lease, there's some attractive offers out there, but it could also come back to bite you.
Absolutely.
So if you do that, make sure that you throw money at least 3 times in the bank savings for the times when you might not be in control there.
That's exactly right. I mean, all of our vehicles, they're paid off, so I don't have to worry about those.
Follow Dave Ramsey.
My wife's saying, follow Dave Ramsey.
Yeah. Dave Ramsey, you're the second guest.
Oh yeah,
you're the second guest. Yeah, you're the 7 baby steps is what.
So we have a show that we do, you guys. It's called Beyond the Service, and we talk about debt and we talk about mental health. We talk about all kinds of stuff. Running a small business, and it's kind of more of a support system saying that, hey, other people are out there having these same problems. But what I want to get at is debt. If you're in debt, how can you be responsible for other employees when you're in yourself needs the help as well? So you have to think about that and really set your business up for success and security for your employees.
Yeah, and one of the things we'll do here is we're going to have our recap of this. We're going to have the blog post up, and in that blog post, we're going to have a link to Dave Ramsey, but we're also going to have a link to Beyond the Service, so that way you guys can watch that as well as OG Plumb God, that your Instagram handle, as well as your company's handle, so everyone can follow. I feel like the best way to learn is to watch others and then imitate. It's not wrong to steal. Literally, go look at see what they're doing. That's how you get better. So the more you follow people that are actually doing it and making it and have it kind of figured out, don't feel ashamed. It's great. I do it. Alexa does it. We all do it. It's the best way to get better quicker. So on that note, we've got a couple other things to share, Alexa, and then we will call it a night.
Roland, can you share your screen with the with our slides for the meetups?
Oh yeah. Let me find them.
And it's in our evening update program outline.
Okay, evening update program outline. Sorry. Quick, try to find it. Here we go. Click. Screen share. All right.
Cool. So if you guys haven't heard yet, we're offering free online meetups through Zoom. They can be thought of as an extension of these coronavirus evening updates. It's a really good opportunity for you to join other home service professionals face-to-face. You can talk shop, discuss marketing ideas, and network so that we can all come out of this a little bit stronger. We have 7 coming up next week, including a Lady Pro meetup, which I am so excited for. John, you have to tell Devin to come to that one because it sounds like she's running the operation, and as most Lady Pros are. So that's going to be on Thursday. We're going to be posting the links to register for these upcoming meetups in the Facebook group in the comment section when we post on Facebook. So we hope to see you guys next week there. Anyone can join.
Look, another little Lady Pro. It's John's true crew.
The true Lady Pro crew. And then the last thing we want to tell you guys about, if you go to the next slide, Roland, is the podcast, the Pro Talk podcast. So we launched this a little over a month and a half ago, and our one with Texas Medley, who we had on. Did we have Texas on last night? Or was it before? We had Texas on last night.
The night before, Tuesday.
It's all blending together. I don't know what day it is, but Roland had a really great conversation with Texas, and him and JC have a really, really good chemistry, and he's sharing more strategies and tips around employees and in HR during this time, and kind of the same topic of today of how are you proofing your business to be successful for after this pandemic is over. So those are our other announcements. Other than that, John, one more time, where can everyone find you if they want to follow you?
Sorry about that. I turned my video off for there. You can find us on Mechanical Hub's YouTube. That's where you'll find Beyond the Service episodes. You can find me on OG Plumb God at Instagram, or Thompson Family Plumbing on Instagram, and John Thompson on Facebook. I just want to say thank you guys for all watching, and this is an amazing community that we have here, so hopefully you guys stay engaged in this, and sorry about the sketchy wires right here. This is a rental house that I have in Havasu.
Yeah, we have some electricians.
We know a few people like to help you with that.
Well, thank you, John, for coming on tonight. We will see you guys tomorrow with Brandon, who is our weekly Friday guest. He is also bringing on a guest who was recently on her local news and has been on it quite a few times, and so she's going to be teaching you how to utilize that medium during this time and how to get on the news and strategies behind that. So we'll see you guys tomorrow for our last evening update of the week. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We will see you tomorrow and in the Facebook group. Bye, guys.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Mel.
Cool. And we have already a question for Roland. Roland, how'd you get your beard looking so good? That's the first.